Welcome, welcome to Design Tips and Giggles. Oh my gosh. We have so much fun doing that every morning.
We do. Who's going to say hey?
Who's going to say it? So today is February 20th, and we are, Beth Ann and myself, Pam. We have a special guest. This is the first time. Lynn is our first guest that we've ever had. So we don't even have to talk today. Whoa, whoa.
Whoop, whoop. It's Tips and Giggles, but we're on vacation.
We're taking the day off.
We're all done with tips. We're just gonna giggle.
There we go.
Someone else can provide tips today. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. So Lynn has graciously, did we even ask her? I think we just told her.
Say, was it gracious, or did we say, hey, you're going to do this for us? We've decided. We've decided this is what you're doing today.
Yeah,
I think that's what happened.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Because she's having a 3-day challenge coming up pretty soon.
Yes.
That would be the drop the link.
Hold on. I got this. Okay. Hold on. I have a link.
Okay.
This would be the best time, Beth. I was oh yeah, we're talking about this great thing. That's great. I'm so excited. Yes.
There we go. That's
my link.
I mean, yes, because it took her a while to find that link. So
it did.
All right. So if you ever wanted to be a VA, or if you have questions about all that, Lynn is the one. Lynn is the one. She helps with the admin of PIPS now, and I've heard such great things about it. So I know she knows what she's doing. And Beth, you know she's good too.
I do. I have her. Yep. She does my Pinterest for me.
Yep. So we're not just bringing in some random, person. We know that Lynn is amazing. And we thought that it would be a little, because Pinterest is one outlet that you can share your stuff to. So that, last week we were talking about how do you get your stuff out there? How do you promote it? Stuff. Well, guess what? Lynn's going to tell us about Pinterest, which I love to go get recipes.
I always go there and look to see what people are creating. And then I'm like, how can I find that clip art?
There we go.
It's usually what I do on Pinterest.
So I'm looking forward to knowing all this beautiful stuff. And Lynn, are you ready to go? Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, look at here.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Right?
2 months? What did you do in that 2 months? You must have done Pinterest. Yeah, you must have done stuff.
Okay, since y'all asked, I have a friend that is a content creator, and she went on my Pinterest and she was like, you have over 1 million followers. Every day I create AI and I put quotes that speak to my heart. And people come on there and they're like, oh my God, Aunt Cookie, you inspire me. So I just speak from the heart and put it on pictures. But I wasn't doing correctly as my content creator. I wasn't selling my prints.
Oh.
So that's the part. That's one of the reasons why I'm in here. So.
Okay. All right. Well, if you have a Pinterest link, go ahead and put it in here because, go for it. I would love to see it. Okay. Lynn, go ahead. I think we're ready now.
Okay.
I'll stop talking.
No. Okay. Well, thanks to Pam and Beth Ann for having me this morning. They have a little PDF that they're going to share with y'all with some notes on it too. So they'll tell you guys how to get all of that information, but this is recorded too, and if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or wait till the end, whatever is easiest for you. I'm gonna share some tips, and I'm sure that there will be questions along the way, so that is totally okay. And when I get excited, I talk fast. So if I'm going too fast, just tell me to slow down because I love Pinterest. So I'm going to share some tips this morning to help you get a little bit of instant gratification, but also make sure that you're getting long-term results too, because it's so much easier for me to continue with something when I see the analytics and like things are going up and people are following and liking and sharing and all of that stuff. So having learned some things that will get you some instant gratification helps, especially with Pinterest, because it's very much a long-term situation. So if anybody's not familiar with Pinterest, it's very much a visual search engine. So everything that you're putting on there, you want to look nice. People are putting something in like they would on Google, but they're looking at very visual picture results instead of AI generated stuff and a bunch of links. And it's not like a social media channel. It gets grouped with social media a lot, but it's not social media because a lot of times people aren't coming and just scrolling Pinterest for hours unless they've really curated their feed and who they're following and what they want to see. And that's part of why when we talk about SEO, it's very important because if you have a user like that who's going to spend hours and hours scrolling, you want to make sure that you show up in their feed if you have what they're looking for. But most people are just coming to search for something very specific. And a lot of people are coming to Pinterest to purchase things. So if you have a product, whether it be printables or clothes or a coaching program or membership, people are now coming to Pinterest just to search and shop. So make sure that you're including those links as well, whether it be affiliate links that you're, following all the rules on and labeling as affiliate and all of that stuff, or something just to your own shop for your own products. People are expecting to shop on Pinterest. So go ahead and give them products to shop. And you always want to make sure that your pins are really, really clear. Both in the photos that you're using, and it's totally fine to use your own photos, to use AI generated photos, to use stock photos. Several people that I know, and I've tested this too, we've tried photos that we've taken and put in our blog posts or from recipes or our own content or whatever, or used an AI generated or a stock photo. And people very much prefer those stock photos or AI generated photos that kind of make it look nicer maybe than what it is if your lighting's not perfect or whatever. So don't be afraid to use stock photos or AI generated stuff at all because that's what people are clicking on. But you also want to make sure that your pin is clear in the sense that people know what it is. So you don't want people to click through to get a math worksheet if your picture in your pin is kids coloring at a table. That doesn't tell people if they're looking quickly at the hundreds of pins that show up for them, what they're going to get from clicking through your pin.
Yeah, we do have
Elizabeth.
Okay.
Yeah, pictures without people preferred. It depends on what you're doing. If it's a recipe photo, I would say yes, 100 times over that people want to see the food that they're going to make or the craft project that they're going to make. They don't want a picture of your smiling face holding a plate. They want to be able to see what they're going to make. So in that sense, it really depends on what your end game is. If you're traveling and you're talking about like family travel, it would make sense to have a picture of family in your location to give people that extra visual cue of we're a family on vacation kind of a thing.
And then Gina had a question. If we have a blog and start a printable shop, should we have a separate Pinterest account?
That is a good question. So we're going to talk about that in a second, but no, I would not start a brand new account unless you want to keep things completely separate. With Pinterest users, they're looking for a pin and they're going to follow you for the things that you're pinning. They're not necessarily going to come to your Pinterest profile and look at all of your other boards. So if you are pinning your own recipes to make for dinner next week or whatever, that's fine too. And if you don't want people to see those boards, you can always make them private on Pinterest. So you can still save stuff for you. And I do that. I have like a private board. If I'm scrolling Pinterest and I see a post, a pin that is like beautiful, and I'm like, okay, I want to use this as a template to make a pin. I have a private board where I just save like, pins I like, and I save them so that when I sit down to make my pins, it gives me new ideas, and it's real time. So I know what's popular and trending right now. And it saves me from scrolling Pinterest to get ideas, because then I find myself scrolling Pinterest and then I'm like, oh, I was supposed to be making pins. Dang it. So I'm very, very guilty of that. But the whole point of Pinterest is to get more eyes on your products and get people off of Pinterest to your piece of the internet. So you want to push them to a membership, to your email sign up list, something that you can control. If Pinterest shut your account down tomorrow, it doesn't matter if you have 3 million followers over there, because now you have nothing. But hopefully you've gotten some people to purchase something or sign up for a freebie or follow, know what your website is, so that you have some of those people over and you can get them back into the fold. Facebook and Instagram separate. I personally keep my business stuff separate from my personal account, but that's just me. I think it just depends on what you're doing. When I think of things like that, I think about my long-term goal. Is this going to be a printable shop that you're setting up and you're going to keep forever? Or is this something that you hope you can build it for a couple of years and sell it? If you're making preschool printables, are you only going to work on this while your kids are in preschool and then sell it to somebody else who wants to start making preschool printables, and you move into upper elementary printables or something like that? So that's definitely something that you personally have to make a decision. For any business stuff, and we'll talk about this with Pinterest too, you want to make sure that you're using like either a business or a creator account. So that's another reason why I keep my business stuff separate. You want to be able to see those analytics and schedule posts and things like that. So my suggestion, and Pam does social media a lot too, so I'm sure she can weigh in, but my suggestion would be to keep them separate.
I would say the same. All right.
And like I said, if you have an account, that's totally okay. You don't necessarily want to go start a new Pinterest account unless you personally want to. Pinterest kind of rewards you for having that account for a long time. So you can definitely kind of teach Pinterest that you're changing ways and moving directions. So don't worry if you have, I had Pinterest, a personal Pinterest account for years and years and years before I had my blog, and even longer before I actually started pinning and doing it as a business thing. So don't stress about that.
Okay.
So the first tip that I want you guys to use is to make sure that you have a business account, like I said, but you also want to make sure that you're claiming your website. Pinterest will trust your pins more and show them to more people if you claim your website. So if you haven't done that, it's really easy to do. And Pinterest has a ton of resources. They have a whole, and once you have a business account, they have like a whole free Pinterest Academy situation. And they'll tell you exactly what you need to do for free. You just have to take the time to sit down and go through it and put those things into practice. So yeah, Gina, it really does. It's really hard to start over, especially in this day and age, I feel like. So if there's ever something that you can repurpose or kind of like revive an old Facebook page or Facebook group or something, it's usually much easier to do that than to try to start from scratch. It really is. Pinterest is a great learning tool. It has a lot of resources, but it can also teach you a lot about your business too, which I love. I've learned a lot from other people, and I've learned a lot about how Pinterest works just from Pinterest itself. So, with your Pinterest business account, you get access to analytics. But my warning would be to not get hung up on them because things change a lot, and that's okay. And one of the downsides to Pinterest is that they do have some glitches and some blips where analytics gets messed up. So you might see like a huge uptick, and all of a sudden you have, 10,000 followers when you had 500 or something, and you get really excited, and then the next day you're back down to like 450, and you're like, wait a second, this is horrible.
Come back.
Don't panic. Don't panic. And don't try to immediately overcorrect. If you have a pin that takes off, and it's going to take some time because Pinterest kind of works in like seasons, because that's how people work. If you're, you're not going to find Christmas pins are not going to be popular right now. People are thinking about Easter and St. Patrick's Day and summer vacations, and your maybe slow cooker recipes aren't as popular right now because people are starting to think about like grilling and things like that. Like things change very seasonally. So you have to think about that when you're coming up with your Pinterest strategy and looking at your analytics. I have one pin that, starting at about Halloween time, for one blog post. I have multiple pins because I've capitalized on this. I have one blog post that carries my entire blog. And I say every year that I'm going to make a million more posts along the same thing. That carries my website from about Halloween through January. I go from about 2,500 page views on a normal day to over 10,000 easily. And the vast majority of that traffic comes from Pinterest. Now, if I didn't know that,
good job. Good job.
now if I didn't know that, as soon as that traffic dropped, I would freak out. But since I know that it is a pin that's related to Christmas, people are going to start looking for it as the holiday approaches. And my analytics look fantastic because there's a really pretty line that goes up, 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 up. And then after Christmas, it goes down really fast. So don't panic if that happens. Don't overcorrect and think, oh my gosh, all my pins are horrible. I have to remake all of these pins. I have to get rid of all these templates. Don't panic. Give it a couple of days, see what happens. If you're really, really worried about it, you can always, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to look at it and try to give you some insight, but you can also dig in too and see, was it seasonal? Was it like a trending keyword? Because when you go in your analytics, Pinterest will tell you kind of what people are searching for, so you can make your pins according to that. There's a lot of things that you can look at to see kind of what happened. So don't panic if things look different. But like Pam and Beth Ann have talked about so many different times, SEO really matters. You have to use keywords in your titles, your descriptions of your pin. If you put any text on your pin, Pinterest can read that. So you want the keywords in there as well. And when you're creating your pins, more than likely in Canva, as you're saving them, what you're naming your pin matters too. So you want to make sure that in all of those places that you're using keywords, and you don't want to keyword stuff ever. And you also don't want to, if you're making multiple pins for the same product, you don't want to copy and paste the same title or description or name them all the same thing. Pinterest will see that as duplicate content, and they will just delete your pins for you. So you've done all of that work for nothing. So make sure that you are mixing up titles and descriptions, but still using the important keywords. Now, a tip that, Pinterest is different every day. It all depends on what people are looking for. It depends. Honestly, I've learned from several accounts, from my own account and other client accounts, The time of day really matters too. Who's using Pinterest at the different times of the day can really determine how your pin will react. So you really have to know your audience. If you are posting pins for teachers, putting those pins on Pinterest during the school day while they're teaching, they're not going to see those. You want to think about that. Are they getting on Pinterest in the morning before they're teaching? Are they getting on Pinterest in the evenings after they've put their own kids to bed, kind of a thing? Are they pinning more on weekends when they're doing lesson planning? You kind of just have to know your audience, and it's going to be different for everybody. There's no like magical times that I can tell you to do this. And your pins will get really great views or anything like that. And Gina, I'm going to talk about pins and how long we should wait too. So a tip that I have to kind of help if you have a Pinterest account that you've used for a really long time, or as like the seasons change or the holidays are changing, you kind of want to prime your Pinterest account. So when you're going in to actually personally use your Pinterest account, you want to search with some of the keywords that you're using for your pins. So if you're going to make a St. Patrick's Day math worksheet for preschoolers, and that's your search, you're going to search for that a few different ways. And you don't have to do it back to back, do it organically as it feels right on Pinterest. I usually keep a little sticky note stuck to my computer screen for pins that I'm working on for clients or for my own account. And when I go in and work on their stuff throughout the day, I will search for those different things. Like Beth Ann has talked about, like her space stuff is doing really well. There's not really anything like space related, but before, as far as a holiday goes, but before I start pinning things like that, I would go into her Pinterest account and search like outer space activities for kids, or solar system printables, or different keywords that we're going to use for that product. You're telling Pinterest that people are searching for this. And then as you're saving things to your Pinterest board, you're telling Pinterest, these things are important. This is good content. So then when you're putting your stuff out there and adding it to it, Pinterest already knows people want to see this, and they know that people are saving it and that it's important to them. So that kind of helps reset your algorithm a little bit and tell Pinterest what you're looking for, just to kind of help cheat the system. It's not really cheating, but so definitely do that. And you want to make sure for every pin that you have, you want to have multiple places to go. The standard is like 3 to 5 different boards. So if we go back to Beth Ann's space pin, you might have like space printables for kids as one option for you to send that pin to. You might have, if it's more specific, like solar system printables for kids, or science printables for preschoolers. Think about more broad topics that you can pin things to, pin boards that you can pin that to, so that you have multiple places. And I do suggest that you have at least one board that is your blog name, or your Teacher Pay Teacher store name, or your Etsy shop name, or anything like that. As people are searching on Pinterest, your board names and your account name will come up in the search bar. So people can just go straight to your account if they're searching for something. If they're searching for educational printables for preschoolers, and that is in your Pinterest account name, your Pinterest account description, if you have a board titled that, those things can all show up and they can come straight to you. And if you've got your own pins on that board that people see, you've brought somebody straight to you, and they probably are going to follow you if they've come straight to your board to find all of their stuff. So make sure that you've got a lot of different places to put those pins. Pinterest will not let you continually pin the same URL to the same board. So you can't take Beth Ann's space pin and pin it every day for 30 days to the same board. Pinterest is going to be like, nope, you're trying to spam things now. This isn't organic, and all of that good stuff. So you want to have a lot of different places for your content to go but you want to have pins on those boards. So don't make 5,000 different boards with like one pin on each one. I am a big advocate for pinning other people's stuff. There are definitely Pinterest people who will tell you, don't worry about anything else, only pin your own content. That's not how I use Pinterest. That's not how I've seen success with Pinterest. So I absolutely, if that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. But it's definitely not how I do it or how I do it for my clients. So I'm just going to keep picking on Beth Ann. If we're pinning that space project printable and it's for preschoolers, if it's for, let's say, first graders, I'm going to search for space projects, space printables for preschoolers. Save a couple of those pins that are similar, but not exact. I'm going to search for space printables for upper elementary kids. Save a couple of those to that same board that we're going to work on. And then I'm also going to save a couple of space projects for second graders so that there's an alternative to what you're pinning. But if that teacher comes to your board to see your space printable, you've made her life easier by saying, well, here's other space things that you can do. Here's a science project. Here's a rocket that you can make. Here's a whatever. But you're also helping them. You're creating a path for them. You're telling them, hey, elementary school teacher, I got you. If you're working on preschool stuff, you can come find me because I'll tell you, even if I don't have stuff, I know the good people. I've got you. I've got you for what I'm creating, and I've got you for the next phase. So whatever students you're teaching or whatever level they're on, you can come here because this is where you find the information. So like I said, some people will tell you absolutely do not pin other people's stuff. I do it. And that's the process that I use because you want them to know that you're an expert on what you're telling them to go pin, especially in this situation where you have specific products for a specific group of people. I try to save, Robin, to pin to different boards. You can pin, I usually try to keep a couple of days in between. And I suggest pinning like 3 to 5 pins a day. So it could be for very different things. I rarely, if ever, pin the same pin, even to different boards on the same day. I keep several days in between. And I keep, not necessarily, I don't put a lot of thought into related content pinning on the same day or anything like that, because we're all pinning printable stuff. It's kind of already in the same niche or the same kind of content. It's not like we're pinning a waffle recipe, our vacation plans, our book club things. Like it's all kind of related. So you don't have to think too much about that. Some clients, if you're like a lifestyle blogger or something, if you're trying to cover a bunch of different topics, you do want to think about that a little bit more when you're pinning things, because you're really going to confuse Pinterest with throwing a bunch of different stuff out there. Yes, you do have lots of boards. Yes, you can absolutely change board names anytime. You can change descriptions, and that's one of the very first things I do when I get a new client is I always go in and ask if it's okay if I change things or if I add boards, because most people do not have enough places to put their pins. And some of the stuff that they have, and I mean, I'm guilty of this. I started using Pinterest for my own personal. So I have all these stupid boards that don't have good names or descriptions or anything like that.
So stupid. They're so stupid.
And I wouldn't focus if you have boards that you're not using, like I wouldn't worry about those. But if you have boards that you're actively trying to pin your pins to, I would prioritize those that you know you're going to be actively using, that you want other people to hopefully find in their search. I would definitely do that. Yeah, there's no specific number. So when it comes to creating pins, here is a tip, I guess, that I use when I'm working on creating content. Your printable could be something evergreen. It could be money, like counting change, how many how many coins make $1 or something like that. You can make your pins, instead of repurposing, I mean, you could repurpose the printable too, but to make your pin stand out for every holiday, your pin could be St. Patrick's Day, the leprechaun, how much gold is in the leprechaun's pot of gold? How much money does the Easter Bunny need to buy the Easter eggs? How much money does Santa need to fill the stocking? Whatever those things are. Your pin can be very seasonal, where your printable doesn't necessarily have to be. You could redo all of those things. Like if you were a lifestyle blogger, travel blogger, and you're talking about this great trip to Disney World, your pins could be talking about, have like a spring break theme, a summer vacation, family travel. There's lots of different themes you can put with your pin, but you don't have to go and redo that printable or that blog post to meet all of those needs. Obviously, use common sense, don't be misleading. But you absolutely can make your pins, definitely do evergreen ones, because those are going to live on Pinterest and get traction all year long. But if you can do some kind of a seasonal or holiday aspect, that's a really good way to get a little boost in traffic as those things happen throughout the year. Yeah, you can put, so I know some people use their pins as the images in their blog post, and they work them in throughout their blog post, which is fantastic if that's what you want to do. Some people just choose to put them at the bottom or in the middle or at the top. There's no real like industry standard as far as that goes. I tested mine on different blog posts to see if people clicked on them, if they were spread throughout, if they did better, if they were just at the bottom, things like that. So it just kind of depends. There used to be a big trend where you would like hide your pins and you would make like the images super tiny so that they would show up and you could pin them, but they were not really in your blog post. You don't have to do that anymore. And anytime, if you have like a social plugin on your website, or if your user has a social plugin on their website, like if they have the Pinterest, Google Chrome extension or anything like that, they can pin any image from your teacher page or website, wherever they are. So it's important to have at least one so that hopefully they're picking that to repin, but sometimes people don't. They're using Pinterest to save it as, oh, this is really cute, I'm going to come back to this someday, and that's the image that they grab. So you do want to make sure that your images have like alt text, because that's what's going to pull if somebody pins an image from your website. So don't miss out on that opportunity as you're putting stuff on your own site, or on Teacher Pay Teachers or Etsy or anything like that. Elizabeth, I have a tip for that too. We're going to talk about that. And a plugin, it just depends on what works with your theme, and what you're comfortable with using. There aren't a ton out there, which is a good thing. So if you find one, you can go with that. I would talk to your host and look to see what theme you're running on your website to see what's compatible. I wouldn't want to tell you a plugin that doesn't work for you or messes up your website. So with Pinterest, it's important that you're doing something on Pinterest every single day. For my clients, when I'm doing live pinning, I'm going to your Teacher Pay Teacher store, your Etsy shop, your website, and actively pinning something from there to Pinterest with your plugin or with the one I have on my computer. So that's adding more direct from your URL right to Pinterest. So that helps. And you don't have to do a ton every single day, and you can kind of do it throughout the day, or you can do it first thing in the morning when you sit down and you spend 5 minutes and you're going to add 3 pins that way. But it's also important to be super consistent. You don't want to go in and pin 5 things today and then not do anything for a week and then show up and pin 10 more things and then kind of disappear again. I get it. Like life happens. I totally get it. But if you want to see that growth and to grow your following, you've got to have some consistency there. So scheduling is okay. It's absolutely okay to schedule your pins. And you can do that directly on Pinterest, or you can use Tailwind. I know you can do it through Canva. I've seen really mixed results with that. So I would just, if it's working for you, great, keep going. If it's not, I would try another option. But Pinterest, obviously, in-app scheduling is always going to get the biggest priority that Pinterest is going to show your pins. But Tailwind and Pinterest have been a partner for so long that that's a really good option too. And this helps you look like you're active on Pinterest all the time. That's probably like the most common thing that I get. People will text me and be like, wait a minute, I thought you were working on this project, or I thought you were traveling today, or aren't you at a lacrosse game? You're scrolling Pinterest? Aren't you watching your kid? And I'm like, oh girl, no, I scheduled that like 2 months ago. I have no idea what's showing up on Pinterest today. So definitely make sure that you're scheduling things, and you can schedule them. You can schedule your pins. You can choose the day and the time. So if you know your people are active at night, schedule them. If you have people in another time zone, make sure that you're thinking about those things as you're pinning, because it's going to pin in the time zone that you're in. So I'm in Eastern time. So 9 o'clock to me is bedtime. You know, teachers are done with their, hopefully, everything else for the night, and they're settling down. But on the West Coast, they're not. They're still in the after school craziness. So you've got to, again, it comes back to you kind of have to know your audience to know when things are going to work best for you. But you also, with all that being said, you have to be active on actual Pinterest. So make sure that you're going in, looking at your feed a little bit, pinning things organically so that Pinterest knows you're not just like a robot that just has all this stuff scheduled and you're not a real person behind that account. That is a really good time to do your Pinterest priming. If you're searching for something specific that you know you're going to start pinning, that's a good time to do that. And that's also a really good way to do keyword research for your pins. Start typing into Pinterest what you want to use as your keywords, and it'll tell you, Pinterest will populate exactly what people are searching for. So you can make a list of, I need to use these in my pin titles and my descriptions. That's a really good way too, so that you can see what other people are pinning. So if you've got your space worksheet that you want to pin, look at the other pins that are coming up as you search on Pinterest. Are they all just a picture of the worksheet? Does it have a picture at the bottom and copy on the top? Does it have scripty font? Is it all very straightforward? Does it have bright colors? All of that kind of stuff you want to look at. And I'm going to give you very conflicting advice, but I promise it does work. You want some of your pins to look exactly like those other pins that you're seeing in your feed, because that's what's working. They're showing up. Pinterest is saying these are the good pins that people like. So make some of your pins look like that. You also want to make a couple of your pins look very, very different in a good way from that, because in that whole feed of things, somebody's eye is going to be drawn to something that stands out and doesn't look like the hundreds of other pins. So it's okay to use a pop of color. It's okay to use clip art. It's okay to use those things and put your own brand on it. For the longest time, people said, you know, like somebody should be able to look at your pin and know exactly what website it came from or what teacher pay teacher store it came from. And branding was like drilled into people's heads, and everybody's pins looked exactly the same. That's not so much a thing anymore. If you look at pins, you generally don't see that anymore. So don't get hung up on every pin has to have your brand colors, your fonts, anything like that. That's not the case. Yeah, and you can absolutely make a schedule for your planner. As you schedule pins in Pinterest, you can go back and see what's scheduled so that you know what days. I just write out like the days of the month on a sticky note that I just keep on my desk and make tally marks for what days I've pinned for to kind of spread out my content. Beth Ann, I hope I answered that on the regular Pinterest home feed. Okay. You can definitely, the general theory with pins is that it's a 2 to 3 ratio. So it's going to be a little bit longer. It's not like an Instagram square size. It's a little bit longer. And that is the traditional pin. You can do different size pins. Pinterest doesn't necessarily hold that against you. And it's just what most people are so used to seeing is that little bit longer pin. The really long pins that used to be really popular that had like infographics and like a video at the top and words and then a picture at the bottom, not so prevalent anymore. And video pins do not get any priority like they used to. Pinterest has kind of phased that out again. So do not feel like you have to add a video. If you want to, knock yourself out. If you have a video of something to do with the pin that you're doing, or Canva has so many video options now that you could add like a stock video type thing in there. You can absolutely do that. You don't have to. There's not priority for a video pin like there used to be.
I'm really glad we're learning.
Yeah,
all
and
this.
having it all.
Sorry. Because it's like all these awful things that were happening with Pinterest that we're all like, oh my gosh, can we just not Pinterest? And now you're saying that's not a thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Thank God. Like, I can go back. Thank you.
Right? Well, and I mean, I even quit going to Pinterest to search for things because it was like the video pins, like you couldn't click on them to get you to a website. You had to like go into the description and click on a link. And it was like, it's not worth my time. I can go to Google and find it, I guess. So I'm glad that they're changing things out. And you can absolutely create your own spreadsheet and create a Google Drive. If you're batching content, like I make my pins in Canva, you can put them into a Google Drive, put them into a spreadsheet with a link to the image in the Google Drive folder with your title and your description. If you're using hashtags, what boards you've pinned them to, you can absolutely do that. You don't have to. That is an extra step, an extra work if you're going to track all that. You can write all of your own pin descriptions. You can use Chatty to help you write the titles and descriptions and get ideas. There are definitely ways to kind of make it easier for you. It does take time, unfortunately, and that's just part of the business. So it is exciting. I love Pinterest. I loved Pinterest as a user. And so now being able to use it as a business owner, I love it. And Tailwind is still around. It's been around forever. You can get by with the free Tailwind account. And that is a really good way to get your pins in front of a lot of other people, especially as you're trying to build your following. I think with the free account, you can join 5 communities. So you can go in and look for, depending if you're going for, you could find like homeschool moms, you could find teachers, you can find educational communities to join. And that's where you upload your pins. And then those users and people in that community can then share your pin with all of their followers. Now, you want to make sure that you're following the rules of the community. If you add a pin, usually you have to repin one. So make sure you're doing that. But you can definitely hide people if they're like spammy. On Tailwind, you can hide their pins so that you don't reshare them. And you can hide pins that you've already pinned so you're not repinning a bunch of the same content or having to scroll through that. I also like to use Tailwind, and again, it's the free version, Tailwind, to look at what things are really popular, because in Tailwind, it'll give you like a little circle above the pin and tell you like 5 people repinned this or like 10,000 people repinned this. So it kind of helps you look at what kind of content is popular, what styles of pins are popular, so that you can go back and recreate that for yourself. And when you're in those communities, as much as it might make you cringe, please repin a couple of those super viral pins to your account throughout the month. Those have Pinterest juice. They're going to help your account. It has worked for every account that I have worked on ever. I have tried it a bunch of different ways, but the ones that are popular, usually I look for anything over 5,000 pins, repins from other users. That helps your stuff be seen. Yet you can only pin through Tailwind, 20 pins a month with the free version. And you can't add a bunch more than that. So it works out pretty well with the 1-to-1 ratio. And to make sure on your Pinterest account that you are telling Pinterest and all your users what you're doing. We talked about the board descriptions, your Pinterest description, all of that, your names. Make sure that those have SEO, that they're clear, that there's stuff on them, that you didn't just go pin one thing and then forget about it and move on to the next thing. And just remember that it takes a lot of time to do the keyword research, to make the pins, to write the titles, to write the descriptions, to schedule all the pins, all of that stuff. It takes time, and that's okay. And if you don't have that time, you can hire somebody out to do that. You can batch create so that you can get through things quickly. It's absolutely fine to use templates. Pam has some that she's going to share with you guys. That helps get the pins created really quickly. And then as you're saving them, you're just renaming them and stuff like that. And just look at what other pins are popular as you're out there on Pinterest and Tailwind. Use your resources. If people are pinning things with a collage of pictures, you want to make sure that your Pinterest templates are a collage of pictures so that you're kind of doing what all the cool kids are doing. And don't get hung up on those, because next month people might want one big picture with text through the middle. So I don't make pins too far out in advance. I usually just do like schedule a month or two at a time, so that if something does change, I can adjust slightly what I'm doing, instead of having to redo everything. And just remember that Pinterest, people are planners on Pinterest most of the time. So they're wanting stuff really early. And it can take about 3 months for a pin to get indexed by Pinterest. So you might pin something today. Don't expect people to start like pinning it tonight, kind of a thing. You want to give it, I usually give it about 7 days before I start looking back to say, okay, what is this pin doing? Are people seeing it? And my process is generally that I will put a pin on Pinterest, give it a couple days to settle in over there. I'll go back and add it to Tailwind so that people can start pinning it from there. And that way it's going to Pinterest at different times. So there's longevity in Pinterest to seeing, okay, lots of different people are pinning this pin. And there's nothing wrong with, you don't want to go back to like the days of like the pod where if I just pin these things, can you repin it all to your account and I'll repin your stuff, and can all 5 of us will just all repin all of each other's stuff. You don't have to do that, but you can definitely follow each other and support each other to share pins. And you can link to a pin like in your newsletter and be like, oh my gosh, look what I saw on Pinterest. You don't have to pin it yourself, but you can tell other people how great Beth Ann's space printable pin is so that they can go and save it too. You know, that could be a section that you add to your newsletter, you know, my 5 favorite pins of the week or something. And you want to make sure that you throw a couple of your own in, because you should, your stuff is great. But it doesn't hurt to throw a couple of other people's stuff into, or, you know, if you would prefer to be like, oh my gosh, look at this great board of space stuff. I have this printable, but look at all this other cool stuff that you could do. Kind of give people all of the resources that to make their lives easier. And just remember that Pinterest is a really long game. I started my blog in 2008. I still have pins from a million years ago that people click on every single day. So you want to make sure that if you quit doing a product or something's not selling, so you get rid of it, that kind of a thing, that you're redirecting that link, because if somebody clicks on it now, and it's going to go to a 404 error page. What are they going to do? Nothing. Pinterest now knows it's a bad link, so they'll probably delete your pin, which stinks. But if you can redirect that link either to your teacher pay teacher shop or to a new product that's similar, maybe, at least you're keeping those people in your orbit. And I have one quick tip. I know we're like right at the end here, but I have a link on the freebie that Pam and Beth Ann are going to share for Prime Publishing. So Prime Publishing is kind of similar to Pinterest a little bit because it's going to bring you a lot of traffic. Now, Prime Publishing is basically a series of websites that are like fall under the same umbrella. And there are a couple good places to share your printables, and they will syndicate your content for you for free. There's no charge for this at all, other than the time it takes you. And I do it in batches. And once you like get into a rhythm, it can take you about 5 to 10 minutes for each submission. So you can submit things pretty quickly. With Prime Publishing though, the window is a lot shorter. So it's about a 2-week lifespan. And you never want to jump ahead of the holiday that's coming. So right now I would focus on like St. Patrick's Day stuff is the next thing coming. I would not start submitting Easter stuff yet because people they're gonna push St. Patrick's Day before they would push Easter. But it's just a little form that you fill out. Only ever share the most basic information. I only share the absolute minimal required information. And so they're basically going to ask you for the title of your printable. They're going to want to see a photo of the finished product. So like your mock-up that you would put on Teacher Pay Teachers or Etsy. A link for them to go to your product or freebie or whatever it is. And a brief description. I think like most of the limits are like 200 words. So all of that, that's basically like the description that you've written for your Etsy store or your Teacher Pay Teacher store to tell people why they should buy it anyways. They put that information on their website and in their newsletters, and they'll send it out to all of their people for you. And they're not getting anything other than the link to come to you. So it's not like they're getting your freebie for free going to that other website or anything like that. They still have to come to you for the information. But this other website is just giving you another place to post your product, and they'll send your stuff out in their newsletters. So if you need a little bump, that's something that I do for like some of the bloggers that I work with. If they're really close to getting into like an ad network, we'll submit a bunch of content to kind of get that traffic bump to help get them there. So that's just another option. I use a lot of my Pinterest pins over there. So that's kind of like the next step in the process for me because it has the title, it has the finished image of everything. I have the description, I have my title, I have the link. It all kind of goes hand in hand. So
I don't know if I have that link. Beth, do you have that link?
I'll put it in your groups. How about that?
Okay. Because I was like,
gonna say,
we're both kind of like,
yeah.
I don't know if we did that one. We did the other one, but I don't know if we did that one. Sorry, guys.
No, that's okay. It should be at the bottom of the freebie that I gave you.
Okay.
But if not, I will put it in.
Then there's that. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah. Okay, so that was a lot. So what questions do we have?
Yeah. Let me
Sorry.
Notes.
Oh, you took notes? I went on Pinterest and I was like, oh, this is a blog post I should write. This is a blog post I should write. I have a list of blog posts to write. My bad.
It's okay. I took notes for you.
Okay, good. I got distracted by
Okay, so
Pinterest.
Did you I rudely interrupted you. Did you finish what you were?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Oh, love it.
I will gladly answer any more questions y'all have.
I was worried about the link. I'm like, she's talking about this wonderful thing, and I don't have.
It sounds really great.
What
is it?
Right, like, oh gosh. Hey, Lynn, are you?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to have a course? I need a course.
I am. After I have one thing to do today after this, and then since my hair and makeup is done, I'm going to work on recording some more videos for that. It is almost ready, so I'm super excited to put that out there and help you guys get more traffic.
Oh my
because
gosh.
that's
Okay,
what we
thank
all
you.
want.
Because I was like, oh, that was a lot. But you gave so much
sorry.
info. It was so awesome. Yeah, right? Elizabeth, sign me up too.
Like the whole course will just be like all those things that happened in the 2020s. It's okay now. It's okay. You can go back to Pinterest now. That's basically
Right.
going to be what the course is. It's okay. You can go back.
Right.
Pinterest isn't mean anymore.
It was a little scary there for a bit. It really
Was.
was. Like, it really was. Oh my goodness. Lynn, you just, yeah. Yeah, I thought I knew Pinterest a little bit. Obviously, I don't.
But even if you're using it at all, that's better than not doing
Mhm.
anything. I mean, at least you're putting pins out there, and doing things. I know we all make good choices, so it's not like anybody's making
She has
bad
such a
choices or
faith
linking
in
to things
us.
they shouldn't. But
Such good choices. That's what
if
I
you're
do.
doing something, that's better than nothing. If you can't pin, and don't drive yourself crazy. You don't want to pin
Right.
100 pins a day. Like that's ridiculous.
So should I delete the ones I just did? The 100 that I just did just
No, just
now?
reschedule them.
Oh, okay.
I like the fact that you don't have to like restart things. Like, I think we all have all
Yeah, do
those.
not start over. Please
I
do
love
not.
it. I love it. Love, love, love. Oh, we have a couple questions here.
I would not create a pin like that necessarily to say thank you to your followers. If you want to add a new freebie, that's fantastic. To pin, but I wouldn't, not like you would do on like Facebook or Instagram or a Facebook group or something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
I wouldn't worry about that.
Girl, the next time you log into this, you're gonna be like, why are there so many dinosaur printables on her homepage?
Well, and
and I
it's
do.
funny because
Go ahead.
no, it's funny. I can always tell when my clients, because I'm like, okay, I like sometimes some of them have a goal and it's like, okay, I need this pin or I need this blog post to take off. Like, and we come up with a plan. And then I'm like, okay, so I need you to not touch your Pinterest. Like, give me a week. Okay. Like, if this is our goal, this is what we have to do. And then I'll log in and it's like, okay, we're trying to make this, vacation post take off. And you've got 500 like your whole feed is recipes. And I'm like,
Sorry.
no, it's not you. And it's okay. You can always come back from that. Like it's not a big deal. I mean, anything. I have purposefully like pinned stuff to make my account like Pinterest get mad at me and then build it back up to try and see what works or what makes Pinterest mad right now. What should we avoid? What should we not do? Is 25 pins a day not a good thing? Do hashtags make it better? If you add a tag to Pinterest, does that make it better? Those kind of things. So you can absolutely correct your account. Like there's nothing, I have not encountered anything that you could like absolutely not recover your Pinterest account from. So don't be afraid to try different things. Don't go out and try to get your Pinterest account shut down. That's not a good choice. But
I just feel like that's what you
stress,
told me to do. I'm just kidding.
don't stress
Well,
about
Lynn
like,
told
oh
us
my
to do
gosh,
that.
today. Right. And then you can hire me and I'll fix it. Just kidding.
And I will fix it.
Oh, I see the
for
game.
you.
I see it.
Ah,
Oh,
there it is. All right.
Don't let all of those things deter you, because I'm
Okay.
really good at making all the excuses to be like, oh, well, you were supposed to have a video and it could only have, 5 words and it could only be these colors, and don't
so many
don't
rules.
listen to all that. Yeah.
And we're not rule followers all
We
the
are
time,
not
Beth?
rule followers. Not even a little.
Like rules, we go the other way.
Like even just like suggestions, I rally against those. Like
Because they're so
man.
rude. So rude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that you say that it can be seasonal because that kind of works with our
Yeah.
flow. So I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you can even have boards. I mean, spring printables, summer printables. It can be very, very simple.
Okay.
You know, journals, self-care journals, you know, habit tracking journals. It does, you
Simple.
think, I always start to think big and then, you know, create one big board where everything could go and then kind of narrow it down a little bit from there.
And there's
Love
no
that.
limit on boards, right? We can have is there a limit?
Not
No.
that I have run into yet, because
Okay.
I have a million of them.
Challenge
Right. Me
accepted.
too. I have some really weird ones. I don't know what was in my head when I was creating them.
Yeah, and don't feel like if you have like boards like that, unless you truly don't want them anymore. Like you don't have to go in and start deleting boards.
Okay.
Don't go in and delete a bunch of your pins if you don't need or want them anymore. Just kind of let them die
Just
off on
die.
Pinterest.
Okay.
Yeah, don't actively go in and repin them. Just leave them lay. Sometimes deleting them can be worse off than leaving them. So don't feel like you have to go in and delete things.
Okay. Well, Beth Ann, do you want to drop that
Yes.
her challenge? So she is having a challenge. Lynn is having a challenge at the end of this month, right? The 28th?
Yes, next week.
Okay. Yeah. God, I can't believe it's already next week.
I know.
The
My
end of
gosh.
February. So she is a virtual assistant. She is amazing. She teaches people how to be a virtual assistant. And so so if that's something that you guys are interested in, it's not just going to be about Pinterest. It's going to be about all like virtual assisting. So go ahead and sign up if that's something you're interested in. It's free, so no cost. And you get to hang out with her some more. As you can see, she is full of knowledge. I love this, Lynn. You're amazing. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you guys for having me.
And your sales page is so pretty. I love all the hearts. I mean, they're hidden, but they're there and I can see
They're
them.
hidden.
So yeah, I love them. And it's colorful.
Yes, a lot of info.
Yeah, it was a
And-
lot, you guys. If you have questions, please, I'm in Beth Ann and Pam's group, so
Yeah.
ask all the questions that you have. I will gladly answer them, and if I don't, they will find me. So don't worry
You
about it.
will find her because we don't know the answers. That's why we have her.
I will find you. Haha.
I will
Yeah.
find you.
That's all right. Yeah, and if
Go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead. No. I was gonna say, if you have a question, you know, like Elizabeth, I know you said your Pinterest you think is awful. It's probably not, I promise you. But if you want to send me a message, feel free. I'm happy to look at your account. If you guys have questions, you can drop them in the groups, and I'm happy to, you know, look at your Pinterest account and kind of give you here's what I would do to get you whatever your goal is back on track.
Coolio. Nice. So my bad. I should have like spotlighted you, but I didn't want to do it in the middle of you talking. So I need to learn. We need to learn how to remember to do that. But
oh well. It's
yeah,
okay.
it's okay. And then I will get the replay up today. I know some people come at me if I don't. So Marilyn,
It's always me.
her.
Yeah.
Yep.
She does. She knows.
She knows she comes at me. It's all good.
Mm.
So I love it. Love this. There's so much. And now I want to go play on Pinterest. Who's going to go play on Pinterest today?
Right.
Right.
I can't now. I have all these ideas of blog posts I have to write.
Right. We all
I
are
can't go
gonna
on Pinterest now.
Did you say you're going to
Takes
write
the
blog?
fun out of everything.
Me and
I'm
write
already-
blog posts. We're so funny.
I'm already addicted to it, so now I'm really going to be on there, but even better.
I love it.